Andreas, who is currently working as a knowledge analyst at a consulting company focusing mainly on medtech. He holds a bachelor in pharmacy and a master in bioentrepreneurship. And he took his journey to iGEM in 2018 as a member of iGEM Stockholm, winning just a few awards: Best Environment Project, Best Integrated Human Practices, like 100 nominations, and including entrepreneurship and product design. So thank you for joining today.
My pleasure to be here and to share everything that I know for iGEM with you. So it was just 2 years ago, so I don't have everything fresh in my mind, I have to say, and some things may have changed, but I can give you a basic overview of product development, what we did back in 2018 in Stockholm, and what worked for us, which problems we encountered, and which things to avoid, I have to say. It will take about 20 minutes, my kind of presentation, my walkthrough, and then we'll have 10 more minutes to discuss things or to raise some questions. If you feel that you need to interrupt me in the middle, please do so. I will be happy to handle anything that will come over. So let's start. Our team, I will start presenting what we did in 2018 in the Stockholm team. And we were 19 people all together in the team, quite a big one. Probably you are less than 20, I think, in your teams. Let me share my screen actually to show you some things. Yeah, and our project, can you see my screen? Probably yes, right?
That was your website. I was looking at it from a presentation.
Maybe you went to the website, not to the wiki page.
The wiki. I was looking at the wiki.
Yeah, this is ours.
Best human practices, yeah.
Okay. And our project was to develop an enzyme that will actually degrade pharmaceuticals from the water. That was the main idea, the main concept. And we decided to do that by actually immobilizing this enzyme to magnetic beads and then finding a solution how to actually integrate this solution to wastewater treatment plants. That's brief. You don't need to know anything more. And let's dive in now to the product development. What's there? What is product development? So most of you have already an idea what it might be. But in our minds back then, we were thinking, we have a solution, but it's still not a product. What's the difference between a solution and a product? A solution, you may have it in the lab, it may work, but if it cannot be marketed out there in the real world, then it's not a product. A product is something that will give you revenue and somebody will fund it actually to get better or to make it to the market. So you have to think until here, when you do human practices, the parts, everything else, you have to have a scientific mindset. Here in the product development, you need to have a business acumen. That's the main difference. That's a pivotal point, I have to say. Next, in the product development, we try to answer two basic questions. When you present your project, you say, for example, oh, look, we have developed this enzyme and it's awesome. It does that and that and that. The next question you will get, it will be, so what? In product development, you will answer this question firstly, and then you will answer the question which comes afterwards. So what? It's what's next. Okay, you did it. It's important, but what comes after it? You will get these questions both from the judges and from the general public if you haven't done so. You are in August, so probably you are quite advanced in your project. You have a quite, let's say, good overview of what you want to accomplish or what you have accomplished already. So you now have to think how you will actually introduce this to the general public and to the market. Let me see. What else do I have to say here? Yeah, okay. So again, change the mindset, the scientific one, or how to develop a world-class enzyme, a badass enzyme, and now focus how we are going to monetize this. And our approach there back then was to do it in two sections. One, to focus on the solution itself, on the product after a while. And the second one was to actually see how we will attract funds and how we will introduce it to the market. So we made two categories, the product design here and entrepreneurship. This is totally up to you, how you will structure your approach and how you will present what you want to present. Back then it was totally freely. I'm not aware if they have changed the structure. So please go through the criteria for the medals in the entrepreneurship sector module and align what you have in your mind with this criteria. That's what we did from the beginning. We read the criteria and then we watched out for the best practices from the previous teams, as you probably have done it already, or you will do it for the other modules. And then try to fit everything into this funnel. So generally, both the product design and entrepreneurship, overall the product development, we thought that we need to have 5 sectors. One was, the first sector was to describe the problem. The second was to describe the solution. The third one is what needs to be done to get this solution slice product into the market and to make it commercially available for everybody. Then we had to validate our solution slice product. And then in the end, since we are in an iGEM and we have to save the world, to show the impact that has in the society. And if now I went briefly through the previous teams, like the last year's teams projects, and they have seen that they followed somehow the same logic. So that's a basic structure, a basic outlay that you need to have in your mind. So I will go briefly now to our side. So in the problem description, just give what the average Joe needs to know about the problem. Not too many specifics. You will go through a hell of data, filter it, and take here only what is necessary for the reader to understand your solution. There are no tips here. Just you have done it multiple times, and probably you will present it in different modules as well, this text or this section. So keep it brief, keep it concise, keep it to the point. The next sector that you can present is the existing solutions that are out there. And this answers the question why we are developing a solution for this problem. In order to pinpoint that, you need to show the negatives of these solutions. You need to attack them in a way, in a polite way. And in this way, you prepare the ground for your solution, which will come next. And this is our solution. Again, here, describe it concisely and accurately. Don't put too much on it. People need to know, okay, you just need to have an enzyme and how I am implementing this to an overall product in this way. If you see all the teams in the past, at least until 2018, they kept it brief. The more you put here that doesn't make sense to you, it makes it easier for the judges to attack you. They can find a million holes here. They know it, you know it. Keep it brief, keep the concept. Don't develop so many details. That again, of course, you need to have something substantial, but don't overdo it. So we developed just a solution how to implement the magnetic beads into the wastewater treatment plant. And this is what I'm showing here. You can put here different things. You can approach it, for example, from a very technical perspective. You can approach it from the environmental perspective, and I mean environmental, like where and how, in which setting is going to be implemented. You can think different stuff. There's no right and wrong, as most of the things in iGEM. Just when you review it, think if it makes sense. I think the fourth part is a validation. So now here you have the biggest problem. You may think, what if we are not able to validate our solution? What if we don't get a positive result in the end? We discussed it with judges in the Jamboree, and they told us it's okay, it's totally fine. If you cannot validate your solution, you just need to show here that you try to validate it, and you have to upload the data, and you have to show what was the end result, and you have to come up and to think why you didn't validate and which steps you would take further in order to improve your solution and hopefully to validate in a second, third, or fourth step. So in the future, just don't be afraid to show that your solution didn't work. It's fine. It's totally fine. Everybody knows that in the end, not all the projects are gonna work out. It's equally, the most important thing is just to make sure that you show that you have thought about the validation and you have taken action about it. And in the end, you have to think how to show how important is your product or solution to the society overall. There are many different things to do that. The best way is to think from the higher perspective, from the macro level. One good way is to approach it, for example, to world, like to the United Nations or from the world problems perspective. Even if it's a local solution, still it shows that you see on the outside and you are not seeing inside, let's say, somehow. And here you have to remember that it's your time to shine, and you have to show your solution to the average Joe and what it means for him, a person who passes by and doesn't know anything about the previous things, and now about the previous things that you talked about, and now he wants to know, okay, for me as an average Joe, what do I gain from it? And that's it. That's a pretty simple structure that we followed for what we call product design, and then we continued with entrepreneurship. Now I know that you put as a topic overall entrepreneurship, so maybe it's excessive to have two sections. So you may want to combine it and to find it more handful. So we faced the biggest problem here that we had to repeat the problem description, but we accepted it and we dealt with it. We said that's it, end of the story. So here in entrepreneurship, you have to focus how I'm gonna introduce this product in the market. What do I need to know? What do I need to factor in? And how an investor, what an investor actually would like to see in order to give me his money or her money to bring it to the market. First of all, it's a plus if you think the stakeholder analysis. You need to come up with everybody who has power and interest into your project. I think that's most of the teams that they don't do it, and I think it gives extra points. It's a minor thing, but it's something to keep in your mind. Secondly, you have to do your market analysis. Of course, you may integrate this into your business plan later on, or you can have it as a different section. It's up to you. For the market analysis, you have to show, or you don't have to, but from the business side, it's always good to have market segmentation. You have to not to approach everybody at once, but to prioritize which market segment you will address first and which in the end. That's something that gives you extra points and shows you that you have thought your project more than most of the teams actually. And of course, it will be good to assess the external environment of the market, and to do so, you can actually leverage some tools that are out there to do so, and most of the judges and the general public are acquainted with, like the Porter's 5 Forces. It's a very generic and well-known tool, or the pestle analysis, if you are aware, if you are familiar with it. If you are not, then at least give it a thought and go through it to see it. And that's enough. You don't need to do more things here for the basics. Again, here, the more you go, the deeper you get into, the judges can attack you more. And it may not be so easily defensible, since you will have a lot of assumptions, but you can live with it. To move on, after the market analysis, again, you present your solution. It's again the same problem with the problem description. You briefly present it and then you move on. They already know it. you don't need to go into details. Since we are in the biotech sector overall, whether you do it diagnostics or anything else, or a software, you develop a software, you need to show that you have thought about the intellectual property. If you don't, then it's not defensible. No investor will give you money. And the judges actually can tell you, did you ever thought about it? And that's a bad thing from the business perspective. So if you don't apply for a patent, which may be an advanced thing, which is actually not, and it doesn't incur any costs at this first steps and level, you can actually show that you have cancelled a patent attorney, or you have done a landscape search or an analysis to see if your solution/product is patentable, or if you face any problems with infringements. And this is something that shows that you have positioned your product and your company in the overall market. So just do something for the for the royalties and the patent issues. In the end, you have to think always the regulations. That's equally important with the patents. It shows that you have a good knowledge of the landscape. You know who is the market leader, who is actually regulating the market, and to who you have to address to if you need to comply with a specific regulation. And sometimes it may be prohibited because you need to incur very, very high costs in order to comply. So keep that in mind. It can be a killer for your project from business perspective. Of course, there's no product if there is no business plan to bring it to the market, or a company actually with a business plan including it. There are many different ways to do that. For the business plan, we don't have time to go through, but make sure that you include here the structure of your potential organization. For example, who is doing what? How are you gonna manufacture your product? How are you gonna finance your operations? What's gonna be your business model? Is it gonna be from B2C, B2B, and all these kinds of things? Best or a must actually here is to use the business canvases. There are at least 2 gold standards out there. You may use more or to choose another one, but you have to show a business canvas at some point here. And of course, if you don't have a time plan, this is usually nice to have and not a must, but if you don't have a time plan, then judges may ask about it in the end, or an investor can ask for it after you finish your presentation and may leave you there hanging on. So it's good to show if your horizon is a 10 years period, or if it's a 3 years period. It's basic stuff. It's assumptions. You may bring it out of your head, but it's fine. They just need to see that you have thought about it as well. Finally, if you have some interest from the industry, that's always good to show it. We had, for example, from AstraZeneca, we had from Pharm, a small startup. We were even talking with a few other companies. That's good to show that some people there from the real world, that they are actually appreciating innovation, consider your solution, and they may seek collaboration, and they may fund your research and your prototyping. That shows that this is real world data. This is something that you don't need to back. It speaks for itself. So I'm almost done. So I will go quickly to the last section of my speech here. This is, I wanted to show you, wait a moment. I want to show you the last year's winners of entrepreneurship. Probably you have gone through it, and I have seen that they did something really nice and innovative. They approach it as if they are starting already a company. So usually, iGEM starts as a student competition. Some of them, they continued and they turned it into a startup. So here they approach it in this way. They describe their company, They used, of course, the business canvases. They used two of it, if I'm not wrong, maybe three. Yes. They conducted their market analysis again, and then they saw the minimum viable product. This is for us the section of the product design, or for the previous years, just describing your product. Then they did the financial analysis, which they made a shitload of estimates here. What's going to happen in the future? These are all assumptions, since they don't have past data, or they don't have industry averages, if I'm not wrong, or even if they do, they cannot be very, very sure about it. But it's good to show that you have thought all the costs and all the miscellaneous expenses or future costs, let's say, that may happen, what's the budget that you're gonna need to accomplish your first dollar, let's say, when it will come over into your company. And future development, this is how you imagine your company to escalate and scale up, actually. And of course, in the end, they have included a business plan, which includes elements of the previous sections, but you have it consolidated and ready to hand it over to an investor. More or less, it shows the same things, but in a more structured way, let's say, and focuses more on how you are going to market, how you are going to actually, manufacture and market your product. That's all. I'm 1 minute over time. Sorry for this. Happy to take any questions.
Awesome, thank you very much. Yes, guys, if anyone has any questions for Andreas, now is the time to make them.
How many members were working on all this?
So it was a joint, for us in 2018, entrepreneurship. Okay, it was two, me and Blanca, mainly Blanca, the other team member, and I had mainly the product design. But what we did is, back in the days, we focused, we said that we need only one medal. We'll go only for the human practices medal. We didn't care so much about product design or entrepreneurship. So our thought is how we can support the human practices through entrepreneurship. And we tried to integrate, or to show actually how much feedback we got from experts in order to develop our product, and how much they helped us to actually think how to build our business model and how to bring it to the market. So yeah, the answer is we were working 2 people on it, but we had a huge amount of help from the human practices team.
Wait, I thought you and Blanca were
2
the
people.
human practices team.
No, we were not. We were in the finance together with Martina, with the third one, that she put more effort into the funding part and a bit more in the entrepreneurship.
Okay, so you, Blanca, and the human practices team, how many people are we looking at?
Let's say 6.5. That's the answer.
7 people were working just on the human practices. I'm just trying to realize how much resources do you need to produce something like this?
You mean for the product? Okay, we approached it as a whole. We didn't distinguish it. We knew what we needed for each part of it. And
human practices and product development and entrepreneurship.
Let's say 7. Yeah, 7. But this was our way. You may need 3 or 4. Mm-hmm.
And how big was the science team?
Again, some people from the human practice had responsibilities on the science part. I would say, and the project leader stepped in as well. So they were like, let's say about 8 to 9. 8 people to 9 people.
Any engineers?
Yeah, we had actually an engineer. He built the modeling part almost by himself. Actually, there were 2 people and they were doing it. So let's say a couple of them.
Okay.
Great. Any questions?
So you were doing this thing with the, can you hear me or should I start?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. So you had this section where you were asking like stakeholders and companies and all these kind of people.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking, okay, maybe in your case it wasn't really possible, but for other projects, like for example, the guys in Thessaly, for example, they built this kit to detect tuberculosis, right?
Mm-hmm. 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 So
Um, should they also consider, like teams trying to build like a product like this, should they also consider to interview the end user?
absolutely, the
And in
whole
your
value
case, why
chain.
didn't you do that? I mean, okay, it's not really clear
We
how
did.
you would. You
We
did?
did.
Okay.
We did. We did.
In
If
your
you go,
graph, I didn't see it. That's why I'm asking.
so the end user for us is this guy here. He's a process engineer, and he's the one who is gonna work with our product in his everyday life. Also, not only this guy, if we go to the human practices, some other process engineers from other wastewater treatment plants as well. So this is what we thought as an end user. Where do we have it? Yeah.
My
So
question was not really directed towards you. It's more general, like someone who's making a product. Okay, now you're hearing my washing machine.
no worries.
Um, so
Yes.
I'm sorry. I can type my question, but
No, it's
my,
fine.
my,
It's
my
fine.
question is, so someone who's making a product that, for example, here the end user is an expert. They know what they're
Mm-hmm.
doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, imagine the team from Denmark last year, they had the pregnancy test with a chewing gum. Do you think it is helpful to also interview this kind of end user, like normal people? And how can you integrate their feedback in your business plan?
Yes, of course. Of course you can interview and take their feedback into your business plan. But you are asking me how you can show this, how you can show that you have integrated their feedback into your business plan.
No, I'm asking if it is possible, and not
Yes.
how you can show it, because you can just write it on your wiki, but how do
Mm-hmm.
you process it?
For example, you can say, how do you process it? If I understood correctly the question here, you can show that we were thinking something like this, and after we got like this feedback from the end user, we shifted and we went towards this direction. And you can show this turning point that the feedback was actually the main driver of this change of direction.
I just want
If
to add something here for
Mhm.
Anastasis. We discussed this in the previous Q&A. The thing is, not only can you do it, but if you don't do it, if you do any human practices that doesn't include your end user, you're gonna miss a
Mhm.
huge chunk of your project. Like your project will not get very far and will not be judged very highly if you never went to your end user. So it's not, oh, can you do it? It's like, if you don't do it, it's really bad news judging wise.
Yes, and if you ask me now, I will say you need to have at least um, one feedback from every person who has a saying on the whole value chain. For example, as it was in Thessaly last year, they need to have feedback from doctors, nurses, public administrators, um, anybody like refugee camps administrators, pneumologists, as a doctor, everybody who is involved in the situation as a TB and a diagnostic product. That shows that you have an overall view of the product and the market.
Awesome.
Any other question or something else to focus on? If I don't get any, I will get mad. I will think that.
I do have a more general question, to be honest.
Yeah, sure.
Because during iGEM, I didn't do all this business stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very bad with all these things. But I'm wondering, what kind of skills do you think you acquired through this experience and how they have helped you now?
Oh, okay, that's good. That's a good question. Okay, first of all, it was like a startup for us, seriously. Since I was studying at the same moment all the theoretical parts or aspects on how to initiate actually a venture, whatever it is, at the same moment we were implementing it. So it was learning by doing. And how did I capitalize it in the end? First of all, believe it or not, I will tell you now my highlight moment. I got into a consulting department in Merck without knowing that I have to solve a case before, a business case. Now, what is a business case? They give you something and tell you how to introduce it, how you will develop it, how you will do it. And I didn't know that you have to know how to do this in order to get into the interview. And I just took whatever I did in iGEM, and I implemented the question, and it worked out. So it gives you this business perspective if you do it by yourself. This section, and you are getting prepared to actually claim a business position in the market. Even if you have a officially or formally scientific background, you can still sell this point, and you can show that you have this business mindset.
Andrea, you mentioned Merck. Did you?
Yes.
Was it just a consulting job application by itself, or did it have anything to do with the entrepreneurial competitions that Merck does every, I don't know, 1 year?
Yeah, no, unfortunately I didn't have to do anything with it. No, but I was aware of it, and I met some people that they participate on it, and we went through the innovation center, which is really nice and futuristic. And they have all these different kinds of toys. If it happens to pass by, just go and visit it. But no, unfortunately. But you can apply for internships there, just so you know. Yeah, please, Anastasia.
I have questions because this is something I never did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I suppose because you did all these kind of things, you looked in past wikis, or you've seen the wikis from last year regarding this section.
Mm-hmm.
It's a section of the wiki I don't even check. Really. But in your opinion, what's something that is missing from most teams trying to write this kind of page? What's missing from their entrepreneurship? I can't even pronounce it. I don't know how you pronounce it.
No, it's fine. Call it whatever. Okay, it has been already 2 years, but when you're looking at it, they didn't have a complete business plan. That's the first mistake, and that's quite easy to take and do it. They didn't do a very comprehensive market analysis, either in the business plan or as a different section. And most of them, they didn't follow a structure. The structure that I told you before, the 5 steps for us, or if you want to make it even more simple, the problem, solution, and then what's the implications of your solution and how to bring it to the market. So most of them, they lacked some sections of it, so it was not complete. Yeah, I will say in some of them, they didn't think about the patents. They didn't even mention anything about the patents. They thought about the regulations, but didn't show, okay, how we are going to protect what we have developed so far. You put so much effort, somebody gave you money to build it. So you have to actually somehow put it out there in the market and bring back this investment. So that's, if I answer to your question, that's my best guess.
And now that you look back on this section of your wiki, what do you think you could improve or you would add? Because I suppose now you have more experience in this kind of sector. What do you think it's missing now that you look at it?
Missing, yeah. I will say, okay, if we want to expand it, I will say future trends. Somehow you actually showing which trends are gonna formulate the landscape in the future, and to have some estimations on the overall market size and the market growth of it, and maybe we could have identified more collaborators from the industry without even visiting, but or to have actually targeted some collaborators / potential acquisitors, if it's the right way, somebody who could buy us.
I don't have any more questions. I think
You know,
you answered all of them.
yeah, I can tell you something that you barely asked about it, but what are the common problems when you are trying to write a page like this, or when you try to actually write this section? First of all, is again, you have to think how to tackle the iteration that comes up with the problem description and the solution, or you have to accept it. And the second is how to align it with the other parts. For example, like the parts or the project overall, or the science part. And for this, you have to think if you want to do something like we did, to focus on something specific for the medal, or if you want it to be this category, the one that you really want to compete with. So you try to steer everything else into the entrepreneurship. And the fourth part is maybe actually the third thing you have to think is it worth it? If you don't go for it, then just keep the basic things and move on. These are the main challenges. Other than that, you can find everything on the web. You can reach out to experts. Most of them, they will be open to discuss about it with you. And that's it. As you do the human practices, you go talk with them, express your opinion, what you think about it, you take the feedback, you implement, and you move on. That's it. It doesn't have anything peculiar, this section, I have to say. It's more difficult is to show how you integrate the feedback overall and how you reach out to the public than to take the tools that are out there and actually fill it with your own data and to show that you have thought about entrepreneurship. Shit, I'm talking a lot.
One question. Do you have any tip about how the teams could communicate their science and solution in stakeholders that they don't hold a biology background or a research background? Did you find any problem with that?
That's a good question. Actually, we did. We're thinking how deep we should go and how much on the surface we should say. So we're trying to actually pitch our project to friends and families that they don't have a clue about it, and to see if they understand what we want to say, and to give us some feedback. And that's how we did it again. So that's my advice again. It's first to somebody you feel secure with, you don't expose yourself, and then do it with a real audience. Other than that, a good practice would be maybe to follow some blogs or some PhD students that they are actually exercising public reach out for science, or science communicators, or even famous ones. That will be even good for your project, to Tyson, or I don't know, to Richard Dawkins, if you feel about it. Reach out to them and tell them, look, we want to do that, give us some advice, and we will try to implement your advice, and so that. Yeah, that's it. Follow blogs, vlogs, or follow some advice from the experts again.
Right, so before Anastasis jumps on with another question, I want to thank Andreas for coming. And I want to tell the rest of you guys that now we have a small game organized, which is called